checking.
What are you checking?
Oh, no, that's my index. Oh, that's my index.
Okay, we'll call this meeting of the regular city council of the city of Galt to order. The council just left the closed session meeting. Council, do you have a report?
There was no reportable action taken.
Thank you. With that, we will reconvene to open session. Can you call roll, please?
Vice Mayor Payne, present. Councilmember Hewer, Councilmember Campion,
Here.
Councilmember Powers, Mayor Cruz.
Present. 1 second. I'm in the wrong place. Would you all stand, please, for a silent session? Ms. Phillips, could you lead us in the flag salute, please?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we get the video statement, please?
This meeting of the Galt City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. The meeting is also webcast at www.saxmetrocable.tv. Tonight's meeting will air this Friday and Saturday at 9 a.m. This meeting is also closed captioned. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any library branch.
Thank you. Do we have any agenda approvals, additions, and/or deletions? Nothing? Okay, we'll move on to presentations. Public Works Department, new employees.
Mayor and council members, tonight I'd like to introduce a new employee, Alice Bernardino. Come on down to the podium here, and while she's coming, I'll give you a quick bio. She's our newest hire. She's filling our open engineering technician position, and is going to be helping Tony Ellis and the team support our cast of engineers. She recently, in May, got her Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from CSU Fresno, and also achieved her engineering training certificate, which puts her on a path to professional registration. Our job is to make sure she gets good qualifying experience over the next couple of years. She was a research assistant at Fresno State, and very skilled in AutoCAD and GIS and other various software that we need help with in the department, and we're excited to have her come aboard. And Alice, is there anything you'd like to say?
I'd just like to say I've been here for about a month, and I've really enjoyed my time with the the residents, and everyone in the office is really nice, and it's really a pleasure. Thank you.
And to your left is an upstanding citizen of Galt who wants to stay.
We don't know what happens to these pictures.
No, I have no idea.
No idea.
He's sitting about
Oh, you did?
Well,
Welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, moving on. Galt Area Historical Society, Community Benefit Funding Grant, report on the funds.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. The reason I'm dressed up tonight is because last time I was there kind of dressed down. I wanted you to know that I did remain some of my dress clothes, you know. Good evening, I'm Randy Shelton, the president of the Galt Area Historical Society. With me tonight, Janice Ritzu, she's our treasurer, and Ron Jacobson. And Ida chose not to come up, but you're going to be recognized anyway, our vice president. So I have some information. You could, gentlemen, just pass that around to the council members. We just want you to know tonight that we gracefully are proud that you are partnering up with the Galt Area Historical Society. You know, when we started in 1987, I know some of your members and you support us as well as, you know, a lot of other organizations. So I really appreciate that. On the information that when you get it, the non-profit financial assistance, That was $3,000 that we got last year, greatly needed for the construction of the new restroom. And I believe most of you know that this restroom will enhance and help in our educational program. You know, there's times when we have a lot of children out there, and so the one was causing some issues with having a program going on. So when we had to use the facilities, you know, we had to take staff, volunteers, and teachers over. But that will also be used for other functions that we have there. So right now we have a foundation. On your handout, your second page, the first one's the letter from the city. The second one is the site plan, kind of shows you where the restroom is going to be. And then your third page is actually, in concept, what the building itself is going to look like. So again, I want to tell you thank you. And I want to just put a plug in for Ron is our construction and design chairperson. So I know as council members, you know, you have free time sometimes. If you want to come out and pick up a nail or a hammer or something, I'm sure Ron will not tell you no, okay? Did you have any questions, or I don't know whether anyone wanted to say anything else? Fine. Just any questions they have, maybe? Were there any questions that you have?
Council, questions?
No, I was just, I was out there and I was talking with Trevor, I think, or maybe it was Randy, I'm not sure which. This wasn't the original location where you wanted to put it, or the most desired. It wasn't. It was more behind the building, wasn't it? The home. Right. Yeah. I still think it's a good. It'll work well. Yeah.
Then it's called shoot the grade. And shot the grade, came out 18 inches higher, almost originally planned building. So that's what back to the architect to be redone. So we have a full porch on the front of it. And
Right.
so we can have a handicap there. We should have looked back on the 12th this month. So we'll be back on the schedule again.
Good.
Awesome.
Good. Good.
Thank you.
And thank you again for your continued support. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, actually, we hired a fourth person. Because one of the members that snuck in our volunteer supervisor. That's wild.
Okay, moving on. Laheim of Galt Community Benefit Grant.
Good evening. My name is Angel Morgan. I'm the Laheim of Galt Board President. With all of our board and volunteers many of who are here this evening, we would like to thank the City of Galt for choosing our organization to receive the grant. Laheim has been helping the needy since 2005, but our founder, Gloria Stemler, has been doing it far longer. She is here tonight if you have any questions for her. We have purchased cotton fabric, flannel, fleece, thread. Thank you. Cutting blades, extra large cutting mats, several new presser beads for our sewing machine. Machine quilting beads, and our single largest one-time expense is the servicing of all our sewing machines. We have made quilts for the Fairsight School Outreach Program, Afghans, hats, scarves, hygiene kits for the homeless, shower kits for Project Love, bags for Vacation Bible School, bibs for Golden Living Center and Stainless Residential Care, and donated our excess yarn to the Galt Adult Community Training Program. Thank you again to the City Council for choosing Laheim of Galt for making it all possible. Laheim has many hearts and hands working toward our community goals. So I would like to introduce Vicki Scott. She is the one who keeps us organized. She helps us find things, and she has a wealth of sewing knowledge to guide us. And that giant binder right there is hers. That's how she knows where everything is and where it's coming and going. So I will hand the podium to Vicki.
Good evening, I'm Vicki Scott. I volunteer
I've been volunteering down at L'Haim for about the past 2 years. I first became aware of L'Haim back several years ago when I started a quilt project and ran into a brick wall. So I went to them to get help. I not only got the help, but what really stuck in my mind about that visit was when I walked in the door was the sound of sewing machines, laughter, chatter, and music. Then about 3.5 years ago, when I found myself suddenly a caregiver, and my life turned upside down, and I felt like I had to look up to see bottom, I remembered those sounds. And I went to L'Haim to volunteer my services because I was in desperate need of the chattering voices, the sewing machines, the music, and the laughter. And as they say, the rest is history. Because of L'Haim, I was able to find my old self again. I got out of the green funk that I had been in for so many months and back into the sunshine. Without the women of L'Haim, I don't think that would have been possible. The best part of my volunteering at L'Haim is because it keeps me in the sunshine. The work we do at L'Haim, be it teaching, helping, sharing, or giving to others, when you see a person's face and eyes light up, you get help that light up yourself. Knowing you made a difference in their life makes you feel good all over. And who doesn't like feeling good? Now I would like to introduce another volunteer, and I'm happy to say a very good friend of mine, Maya Olanui.
Hi. I wanted to start off by giving some little lady here. These are the things that I made. Start on that. I like to start with my smelling here, so. Inside is what we give to the homeless people to help them feel good. If you don't have to use for those, feel free to pass them on to somebody who might need them more. So as you know, my name is Maya, and I wanted to thank you all very much for taking time to talk to us today. I'm going to start off by saying that these ladies have absolutely and completely saved my life. No, not that. They've given me a reason to wake up in the morning, and they have given me something to look forward to, and they have given me the love and support that I have needed to be able to move forward with my life. I suffer from bipolar and depression, and in my depression, I have always felt that I am useless, that I can't accomplish anything, and that I, am worthless. And because of these feelings, I always felt I was a disappointment to others. Being bipolar, I made a very bad mistake last year. And due to that mistake, I had to have community service. That mistake was the best thing that ever happened to me because it led me to be good. I started in January, and I went to a lot of other places, and they wanted to know what I did, so I told them, and they set me on my way. When I went and saw these ladies, they took me in. They didn't ask me what I did. They didn't want to know. They just embraced me. And like I said, because of that, I have a reason to live. I have something to look forward to. When I first started in January, there was a member who, on my first day, said, "Do you know how to sew?" I said, "No, I'm absolutely terrified to learn." And she said, "Nope, if you're going to be here, you need to learn how to sew." So she sat me down that day, and we spent the whole day at a sewing machine. And let me tell you, I love sewing now. So anyway, again, it changed my life for the better. And I look at them as my family. And I look at Nikki here as my second mom and my little, fire friend. And that's about it. And I want to say thank you and bye.
Thank you.
Everybody to first, hold it up, please. Hold your purse up, Kurt. Hold your purse.
I thought you got in the picture.
Hold
He's holding his purse up.
Hold the purse up.
Hold it up.
No. No.
I'm taking my time here. Making sure that we got it. No cell phones allowed. There we go, there we go. No cell phones. You are beet red, sir.
Got to get it all the way up.
Thank you very much, ladies.
Nice.
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're gonna have a hard time topping that one, you know. Yeah. Moving on to our fourth presentation. Traffic basics for traffic calming tools.
Mayor and council members, this is an informational presentation made by Gwen Owens, our deputy director, wearing her city engineer hat. And it's sort of to help the public as well as the council kind of understand. Everybody's always concerned about speeders and crosswalk safety and community cars and failure to yield and all of those types of things relative to cars, pedestrians, and bicycles. And so she's going to just kind of give you a quick whirlwind tour of some of the various things that we use and that other cities use, and talk maybe briefly about some of the pros and cons, and let you know what a day in the life of a traffic engineer looks like.
Okay, so we're just talking a little bit about traffic basics and traffic calming tools. I'm going to talk about traffic basics, data collection, and traffic calming measures. So basically, let's just talk about a couple things for the speed limit. Speed limits are, there's a basic speed limit, and the basic speed limit basically says that no person shall drive greater than what is reasonable and prudent given the current weather conditions, visibility, and traffic. So what this means is you can be driving in a 40-mile-per-hour street that's posted 40 miles per hour, but if it's horrific weather conditions, it's raining, torrential, there's a lot of pedestrians, you can get ticketed for 25, and that's at the discretion of the police department. Prima facie basically says, prima facie means on the face of it. So basically, there are certain streets that do not have to be signed with what the posted speed limit is. It's on the face of it. So, for example, alleys, like intersections, are 15-mile-per-hour limits. Residential streets and business areas, and those are defined by the California Vehicle Codes, are 25 miles per hour. And then also roadways adjacent to schools, playgrounds, and public parks when children are present is 25 miles per hour. Those don't have to be posted, and you can get a ticket for going over those speed limits in those particular areas. Now, let's just talk a little bit about 85th percentile speed. So how speed limits are set is basically we as traffic engineers will go out and do a speed survey. So you collect approximately 100 observations of people of what their speeds are on a day that it's not congested, it's good weather, and what we do is we graph that. And studies have shown that 85% of the drivers drive at a safe or prudent speed. So basically, the 85th percentile speed is what's considered a critical speed. From there, we either round up or round down, depending upon where we're at, and then we're allowed to, under specific conditions, reduce the speed up to 5 miles per hour. That's how speed limits are set. If we do not set speed limits like that, it's considered a speed trap and it's non-enforceable by PD. Okay? Okay. Stop signs. Stop signs are used to yield the right-of-way. There are specific stop sign warrants to determine when a stop sign is needed. We look at the volumes of all of the approaches, the number of accidents, and sight distance. Now, if we install, and we're talking, when we talk stop signs, we're talking all-way stop signs, four-way stop signs, three-way stop signs. If we install unwarranted stop signs, they create more issues than they help. Excellent. Okay, traffic signals.
Traffic signals
Before you
are,
go on, what,
yes,
you said all-way and three-way.
It's like if you
So
have-
two-way are discretionary?
typically what happens is in a local residential neighborhood where you have a residential street and a residential street come in, it's usually signed by right-of-way. You can install stop signs on the minor lakes. Typically where the stop signs are installed are if you have a local residential street that comes up to a collector or an arterial. So like in the neighborhood I live, there's no stop
Okay.
signs internal, there's just stop signs once I get out to the collectors or arterial.
Okay.
So you can put in two legs of a four-leg stop sign.
Okay. Without warrants?
Without warrants. But keep in mind, the purpose of stop signs are not to control speed limits. They're not very good at doing that. Okay. Traffic signals. Once again, traffic signals are used to assign right-of-way, and they also help improve vehicular flow when you have a higher volume of traffic. Once again, traffic signals also have warrants. You look at volumes, you look at accidents and sight distance. Now, if you, besides traffic signals being expensive, if you put in an unwarranted traffic signal, typically what ends up happening is you end up with more rear-end collisions than you end up helping the actual intersection. Okay, so data collection. We talked a little bit about speed surveys. We use these to estimate what the speed limits are. Also, we use to help determine if there's a speeding problem. So, for instance, we quite frequently get requests that they're speeding on my street. Can you install either a speed hump, stop sign, or some sort of, or have PD come out, or some sort of device? So basically, what we do is instead of sending somebody out there with the radar gun, we will actually lay a hose out there, collect data for like a 24-hour period, and it collects both speeds and volumes. And what we do is we determine if the 85th percentile speed is 3 to 4 miles per hour over the posted speed limit on like a 25 mile per hour street, there's a little bit of speeding, but that's kind of a reasonable parameter. Now, if it's 10 miles over, then there's sort of an issue that you have on that street. The next thing we do is we collect traffic volumes. We collect typically average daily traffic, which is traffic in a 24-hour period, to just determine how much traffic is there. Different streets have different peak hours, so if you have a school in your neighborhood, you tend to have different peak hours than if you are just a regular local residential street. We also will collect peak hour, and that's usually at intersections and turning movement counts. So when we actually collect the data with the hoses, we collect it by each hour, and we get the number of vehicles and what the speeds are for those vehicles in that hour. Typically, we also look at collision history over a 3-year period, and then we also evaluate emergency response routes. Okay, so we're going to talk just a little bit about our traffic calming toolbox. And so when you actually do traffic calming, what you need to do is you first need to identify what the nature and the extent of the problem is on a given street, because something that will work in a local residential neighborhood won't work on a major arterial. They're just two different types of issues that you have. Additionally, you need to look at implementing what is a cost-effective measure that will actually solve the issue you have. So if somebody does complain about an issue, you actually need to investigate it to see if that really is the issue, or if it's a characteristic of the street that they live on. Okay, so when you design the right measures, you look at the design speeds, and you also look at design vehicles. So you have to tailor your geometrics and speeds for those vehicles. So for instance, you have to be cognitive of, is it an emergency response route for the fire department? And if it is, that will dictate what type of device you put on that street, because certain devices slow them down and increase their response time. Also then you worry about aesthetics, why I already mentioned the emergency access, and then bicycle and pedestrian. Okay, so we're going to go and just talk very briefly about
our traffic calming measures, we have speed control measures, we have narrowing devices, and we have non-physical measures. Keep in mind, this is just a snapshot of what we can do. These are devices that I've used quite extensively in the past, but it's not all-encompassing. So first we have, there's two kinds of deflection. There's a vertical deflection, and then there's a horizontal deflection. Okay, so the vertical deflection, we have speed humps, speed tables, raised crosswalks, and textured crosswalks. Okay, so speed humps are actually probably one of the most common in the Sacramento area. They're basically 12 feet long, and in the top they raise up to about 3 feet. They're a parabolic shape, and they're relatively inexpensive. They become more inexpensive the more you do because it's an economy of scale when you're pouring asphalt.
3 feet or 3 inches?
3 inches. Did I say feet?
I think you did.
Oh, I meant 3 inches. Sorry. No, we're sorry about that.
Becomes a mountain.
So it's 6 feet long and 3 inches. It's a roller coaster. Okay, so speed humps are relatively easy for bicyclists to deal with if they're tapered at the end where the gutter pan is. Sometimes you have problems with that because sometimes if you have a rolled curb, what happens is vehicles try and drive around them, and so what they usually do is on the sidewalk they'll put a bollard to prevent a vehicle from going around. They're very effective at slowing traffic. Some of the disadvantages are there's certain drivers that have skeletal disabilities that it can cause a rough ride for. It slows emergency response vehicles down, and there is increased air and noise pollution. Sometimes drivers don't pay attention, and they slam on the brakes, and that's very noisy. Or what they sometimes do is to catch up, make up their speed difference, they'll speed in between the two. So sometimes they can be noisy. Also, too, they're not very aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so speed tables. Speed tables are very similar to speed humps, except for they're longer. They're 22 feet long. So they also come up to a 3-inch height, but what happens is it takes 6 feet to get up to the 3-inch height, and then they have a 10-foot flat top before they slope down. They're a much smoother ride, so it's easier for fire trucks to get over them. They're also effective at reducing speeds, not nearly as much as speed humps because you have a flatter top. Aesthetically, if they're not textured or have some sort of material, it can be a little unattractive. The textured material can be expensive, and once again, there's increased noise to the adjacent users. Okay, raised crosswalks. In all reality, a raised crosswalk is just the same design as a speed table, except for it's a crosswalk. And so there's improved safety for pedestrians. It's designed well. You know, it can be very aesthetically pleasing, reduces speed. But once again, materials can be expensive. For both speed tables and actually raised crosswalks, you need to make sure that you appropriately, especially raised crosswalks, because they go up to the sidewalk, you need to make sure you appropriately deal with drainage, because you have to make sure that the drainage, because all of our drains are, drainage is collected in gutters. You just need to make sure that it's designed correctly and it doesn't fail the way it's designed. And there's also increased noise to adjacent residents. Okay, so textured pavement isn't necessarily so much raised. It is raised. It's basically a textured colored pattern that can be stamped or alternative material that gives kind of an uneven surface for vehicles to traverse. It can be used to reduce speeds over extensive lengths. It's designed well. It can look very nice. And if it's placed at intersections, it can calm 2 streets at once. Now, the disadvantages are it can be expensive depending upon the material. And also depending upon the material, they don't always wear equally. They sometimes wear where vehicular travel goes through. And if it's used also as a crosswalk at the intersection, it can be difficult for wheelchairs or sometimes visually impaired people. There is a certain type of color contrast that you have to do for visually impaired individuals. Okay, so moving on, we are going to talk about horizontal control measures, which are traffic circles, roundabouts, and lateral shifts. Okay, so a traffic circle is basically a raised island at an intersection, and traffic circulates around it. Sometimes they're landscaped, sometimes they're hardscaped. Basically, some of the advantages, if they're designed well, they can really look very nice. They're very effective in moderating speeds and improving safety. Traffic circles are difficult for larger vehicles, such as fire trucks, to navigate, and they have to be designed so that the circulating lane doesn't encroach on the sidewalk or the bike lane. There's potentially loss of on-street parking, and if it is landscaped, it either needs to be maintained by the city, or in some places they have residents actually maintain it. Now, a roundabout, which you'll recognize this picture, is basically similar to a traffic circle, except for it's bigger and it's used on a higher volume street. They have typically raised splitters and sometimes more than one lane in the roundabout. Now, some advantages: it moderates traffic speeds on arterials. It can be aesthetically pleasing. Ours looks, I think, fabulous. You can enhance pedestrian and bicycle safety. I think we've done a fairly good job of our roundabouts with that. You minimize queuing on the approaches to the intersection, and it's actually less expensive over each year to maintain than operating a traffic signal. Now, disadvantages is you may require reconstruction of an existing intersection. If there's parking, there's a loss of parking. And for pedestrians, there's an increased path of travel, increased distance they have to go to actually get through the intersection. Okay, lateral shifts. Lateral shifts are curb extensions on otherwise straight streets that cause travel lanes to go one way and then the other. These are typically used on collectors or arterials. The advantage is you can accommodate a high traffic volume than some other traffic calming measures. They're easy to negotiate by large vehicles such as fire trucks. They're not as effective as reducing speeds as other traffic calming measures. There's potentially a loss of on-street parking, and you have to be careful to discourage drivers from driving out of their lane and into the other lane while they're doing the lateral shift. So we're going to talk briefly about some narrowing devices, neck-down bulb outs, center islands, and chokers. Okay, so neck-down and bulb outs basically are curb extensions at intersections to reduce the roadway width from curb to curb. Bulb outs are raised curbs at the intersection that narrow the travel lane. And actually, one of the nice things about this is that it improves pedestrian safety because it reduces the amount of pavement that the pedestrian has to be out in the street for. Through and left movements are easily negotiated by large trucks. You can create protected on-street parking, and it reduces the speed, especially for vehicles that are turning right. So some of the disadvantages are they're effective, but they're not as effective if you do not have the vertical or horizontal deflections. It may slow right-turning emergency vehicles. There is some potential loss of on-street parking where those actual neck-down / bulb outs would be, and it requires a bicyclist to enter the vehicular traffic briefly while they're navigating them. So we are going to go to center island narrowing, and basically it's a raised island that's located along the center of a street to physically narrow the travel lanes. They're often landscaped, and they can have some nice amenities associated with it. They can also be fitted with gaps to allow pedestrians to walk through the crosswalks. Advantages are, if they are used as a crosswalk, is that it increases the pedestrian safety. A pedestrian only has to cross half the street before they can look to cross the other half of the street. If well designed, they can be very aesthetic. They reduce traffic volumes typically. Disadvantages is the effects on speed aren't as high as if you have vertical or horizontal deflection, and there are potentially a loss of on-street parking. Okay, chokers. Chokers are very similar to bulb outs and they're similar to bulb outs / neck downs, except for they are not at an intersection, they are a mid block. They can be marked with a crosswalk, and so basically the advantages are they're easy to negotiate by large vehicles such as fire trucks. They can be aesthetically pleasing, and they can reduce both volumes and speeds. Disadvantages are they may require bicyclists to merge briefly with vehicular traffic, and there's a potential to lose on-street parking. So now we're in the home stretch here, and I'm almost done. We're going to talk about physical control measures, non-physical control measures. So instead of repeating all those, we'll just talk about these. So first one is targeted enforcement. Basically, it's temporary targeted enforcement is based upon where there's been either personal observation or residents have called the police department to request this. Its advantages are it's inexpensive if it's done temporarily. It does not require time for design, doesn't affect trucks, buses, or emergency vehicles, and it's effective in reducing speeds in the very short term. The disadvantages are it's expensive to maintain that level of enforcement, and it's only effective on a temporary basis. So a lot of times PD's called out, they go out there and everyone behaves either very well or a few people are ticketed, but when they leave, the bad behavior comes back. The next device is speed trailer. So basically it's a trailer that measures the approaching speeds of vehiculars and displays it on puts it on its display. They can be easily placed around town for a limited amount of time and then located to another street. They're inexpensive. They don't affect any emergency vehicles, and they can be effective in reducing speed limits in the short term if people are unaware of what their speed limits are. The effectiveness is temporary when they're only out there. They only affect one lane of traffic, and the other disadvantage is sometimes they're subject to vandalism. Okay, lane striping. So lane striping can be used to create bike lanes, parking lanes, edge lanes, etc. The purpose of lane striping is when you have this wide sea of pavement is to try and reduce the visual amount of pavement that you see of where you're supposed to be driving. It's inexpensive, it doesn't restrict any turn movements, and it doesn't impact emergency vehicles. The disadvantage is it's only been shown in before and after studies to have a couple miles per hour reduction if there is speeding in the neighborhood. Next device is rapid flashing beacon. Rapid flashing beacon is basically a special LED device that's installed below a crosswalk sign, and basically it's typically at unsignalized crosswalks, uncontrolled crosswalks. And so what happens is pedestrian comes up, pushes the button, or there's some sort of passive activation that they walk through 2 bollards, they're kind of caught, or they go over a sensor that's in the ground and it starts flashing. So they're very effective at enhancing pedestrian safety and driver awareness. This is especially true during adverse conditions such as dark, fog, or rain. The nice thing is they can be solar powered or AC powered, and they're above the ground. So if you have an issue with them, they're easy to repair. Disadvantages are if there is a button that has to be pushed, if pedestrians don't use the button, it doesn't come on. Same thing with when you have bollards or an area that's depressed. If the pedestrian doesn't use the crosswalk and goes around it, they're not caught and the light's not turned on. This particular device we don't necessarily have. There haven't been enough studies to determine their long-term effectiveness of how much they reduce speeding. Okay, next one is signage. Signage can be used for traffic calming. Speed limit signs, as I noted before, either they're a prima facie sign that doesn't need to be put up, or they're set by speed limit. They're inexpensive. They don't impact emergency vehicles. Don't take any design time to put up. The problem if you put up too many signs, people just don't see them. they just drive by them every day, and it's a sign pollution issue that you run into. So you have to be strategic about putting up signs. Also, too, besides being sign pollution, it becomes confusing if there's too many signs and they're potentially contradictory. The disadvantages is they increase regular maintenance, and they have not been shown to significantly reduce any travel speeds. Okay, so my second to last slide is speed limits, speed legends. So speed legends are basically numbers that are painted on the streets that are the current speed limit in miles per hour. They're typically placed near signposts, and they are basically inexpensive. They help reinforce, especially if you have a change in speed limit. And so if you're coming off a collector or an arterial that's a higher volume street and you're going into a residential neighborhood, sometimes those things help if the street seems very wide to reinforce that this is what the speed limit is. They do not impact emergency vehicles. Their disadvantages, once again, they have not been shown to significantly reduce travel speeds. Okay, last one, high visibility crosswalks. High visibility crosswalks are special marking patterns with raised reflectors to increase the visibility of crosswalk at night. Typically, we would do, and these are not the in-ground lighted crosswalks. This is just raised reflectors with the paint. This is the type of crosswalk that we would do at an uncontrolled intersection that we would put a rapid flashing beacon. So sometimes you actually combine specific traffic calming devices. It increases the visibility under low visibility conditions. It focuses pedestrians. We hope it focuses pedestrians to a single location. The uncontrolled crosswalk unfortunately gives pedestrians a false sense of security. I have seen numerous people, both children and adults, walk out and not even look on an uncontrolled crosswalk. And I always say, it doesn't matter if you're right for California Vehicle Code. If you get hit by a car, you're the one who's going to lose, because you're going to be the one who's hit by a vehicle. So that is something that we stress about, and we stress the fact that just because a crosswalk's there doesn't mean that all drivers are paying attention. We actually have crosswalk warrants of when we install crosswalks on certain streets. This crosswalk also may require more maintenance than a normal crosswalk. With that, I've completed my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Questions?
No, but I'm glad there's not a test. So it's very good, very informative.
Sitting through the presentation was very good. There's been an issue that the city has dealt with, and I know other council members have heard. Pringle Avenue is not a designated truck route. And I know the police department's been out there, we've had cameras out there, and I continue to get calls about trucks going through there, some at high rates of speed. With council's approval, could you go back and look and see, using your box of tools, to see if there's something that can be done on Pringle to dissuade the illegal truck traffic? Because I get complaints like probably every other month. I've got someone where there's been a close call, according to them. It is 2 senior parks out there, single entrances and in and out, and it could be, and the speeds are generally higher, I think, because it's a very wide street. People feel that they can go a little faster.
So the first thing that we would do is we would go and collect both speeds and volumes, and I believe the equipment that we have, we can also do a classification of vehicles to actually determine if there is a problem.
Okay.
So if there's 1 truck a day, I don't know if that's considered a problem.
Okay.
So you first have to collect data to determine if it is a problem. Once you collect the data to determine whether or not it is a problem, then you look at what devices you have. You also look at what funding you have to be able to construct that.
Right.
So I do not remember the specific numbers when we actually had the cameras out there, but I recollect that it was fairly low. I don't know if, Steve, you happen to remember what the numbers were of the number of trucks that were out on Pringle?
It varied, but on average, there were fewer than 6 trucks a day on the highest day. Many days it was 2 or 3, which would mean you targeted enforcement, you've got an officer sitting there for
Right.
4, 5, 6 hours for 1 or 2 trucks.
And that's the problem. That's why I'm thinking more along the lines of a physical improvement that would dissuade large trucks from using that road. I mean, I don't know if that's possible, but because the enforcement, you're right, it's not cost effective to have someone sit there all day long for 1 or 2 violators, but it's concerning to the people that live there. So I don't know what the solution is, but I know that it's been an ongoing for at least over 3 years, because when I was here working, people would come and they would complain. So I'm just not sure what to do about it.
We do have a couple of grant projects, and one of them, if we're successful, we'll be looking at the northerly end and part of Lincoln, at the Pringle intersection, and maybe we can look and see if there's some narrowing measures to hold off something that would discourage the big trucks, because they're not going to be able to make the turn. We've increased the size of the signs that are there for the no trucks, anecdotally at least twice, once since I've been here and once, I believe, a few years prior to that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with the entire community, they have all day to sit and watch for these, and so they're seeing them. And so something we can look at, it becomes a question of how much do you spend to try to correct a couple of trucks a day.
And I believe part of the problem is with the mapping, they map the trucks to Google when they go to their end device, their end location of when they get off the freeway. I think that's part of the problem. So, I don't know.
I'm not following you.
So, the truckers have mapping of
Oh, yes, yeah, that's the quickest route.
Yeah, that's the quickest route.
Right.
That's how we're mapped to get off. And
Right.
so that's part of the issue that's going on. And that's a bigger one I'm not sure how to correct that one.
We did do outreach to all of the businesses, I think PD in part, as well as public works staff did outreach, and reminding them to tell all of their subcontractors and trucks. And by and large, there are hundreds of trucks a day coming, Cal Waste is in the audience, just to their facility.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'll find that any of those are garbage trucks. So now you add L&L Wood Products, it's starting up on the north end, and so we're working with education. And by and large, I think all the local truckers and local businesses are doing a good job of policing themselves. But occasionally you get that independent trucker who gets a load out of who knows where that's never been to Galt, and Google takes them
Right to
on that street.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's a matter of education.
Well, hopefully you're successful on your grant, and maybe we could look at doing something there. Thank you.
Steve,
Those were good.
on that street, we don't have sidewalks, do we, on Pringle?
I believe on the south side, in front of the southerly frontage, is primarily have sidewalks. It's intermittent. I know on the west end, as you approach industrial there, near Squeeze that there are sidewalks there. L&L is deferred putting so it's hit and miss. I know on the north side there are no sidewalks.
No, this is on Pringle. This is on Pringle.
There are
There are none
Yeah.
on the south side.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah, it's all oleanders or something.
From Pringle down to where Squeeze In is. I don't think there's sidewalks
I don't think there is
at
either,
all.
no.
Do we have any prospects for sidewalks? One of the things that is a concern is the people walking out into the street with the truck traffic. That's some of the complaints that I got. Do we have anything in the future for sidewalks there?
I'm not aware of anything currently programmed, but those are certainly the kinds of things that we can look at now. When you go to put in curbs, gutters, and sidewalks on an existing street with existing frontages, you have to reconstruct the streets and redo the drainage and redo the driveways. So it becomes an expensive prospect
I just
to
want-
add, raised sidewalks.
If you had a grant or if that was a possibility in the future.
We don't have, the grants that we currently have, they're currently in design. We're waiting on a couple of other grants to find out whether or not we were awarded them. None of the grants that we either are in design for or are in the pipeline for are for that. That's something we can look at. Though it does get into it's typically the grants that are coming through now are the advanced transportation program, that they want to facilitate walking and biking and alternative modes, but they won't necessarily pick up the reconstruction of the road, which is probably the more expensive piece of the project. So, but we can look for that.
We can think about it, and if we had to put in, or if we did put in sidewalks, it would be an opportunity to maybe look at some of the bulb outs, I think you call them, that truck people wouldn't particularly like to have to deal with. But
And there's really no the reasonable use of a traffic hump or table would that not be effective? I'm just trying to.
A traffic calming table, I would need to look at the speeds of that street to see whether or not that would be effective. But a speed table, there's specific speeds that it's designed for. Like clearly, a speed hump is not a good one for that particular street. My only concern, though, is that if you have a trucker that is unfamiliar with Galt and they're directed down Pringle, it's like too late when they hit it.
You won't be coming back.
Yeah, well, that's true. Not on that street.
So that's pretty slow. It's residential.
So we hear the concern, we share it, we know it's been a sort of a frequent flyer public concern location. So we'll continue to look for creative ideas as opportunities. Typically in playing the grantsmanship game, you sort of go after what it is that they're targeting, and if we can find something that would work on that type of a street and get sidewalks, get eligibility, we're certainly willing to pursue those.
Quick question, and it's just to ease my mind. I noticed in certain portions of town we have center striping for the roadways, and other portions of town we don't. Is there a specific purpose for that? Is there regulations regarding that, or is it just a monetary issue?
Typically what you do is you put centerline striping on collectors or arterial streets. Those are where you put them. Local residential streets, you only put them on if there's some sort of reason. And with the centerline striping, what you typically do is just put a dashed center line so that people know where they're supposed to be. Because with the center line, with a double yellow, you're not supposed to cross over and then cross back. You can technically be committed for that. So if there's a garbage truck on your street, you go to drive around them, you cross the yellow line, then you go back over. Theoretically, you can be ticketed for it. So.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you, it was very good.
Thank you, Glenn. Moving on to public comment.
Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the council on non-agenda items. Speakers may address council on any agenda item during consideration of the item. Speakers should restrict their comments to issues that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council and limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Please fill out a speaker sheet located on the table inside the entrances to the council chambers and forward the completed speaker sheet to the clerk.
And we have one speaker sheet, Jean Davenport.
Hi, I'm Gene Davenport in the city. I want to ask you guys tonight, I want to address the issue of the water situation as it pertains to the city and its residents. We're under, is it mandated that we water twice a week? It is mandated, okay. I have an issue with developers being carte blanche to go and use as much water as they need to. I'm not here to take on any one developer in particular, but the fact that they can go up to a fire hydrant and load up 4,000 gallon tanks and water a project continuously throughout the day for 7 to 10 days, I think it's disingenuous to what we're trying to do here. The fact of the matter is, we have $1 million wastewater treatment plant. And there's something we can do, I think, to get treated water for these projects. Because I think it's wrong that that we're mandated that we can water twice a week, and yet I saw a developer, because it doesn't matter which one it is, this is about the entire thing, that they used at least 20 to 30 4,000 gallon trucks per day on a project. And that was potable water. That is not non-potable water. We need to do something about that. You need to address that. But that's so wrong that they're allowed to do that. And how many more projects are on the drawing board are going to have to be addressed? We just need to do something to show people of the city that we're sincere in what we're doing. I think it's wrong that they're allowed to use potable water on projects. I think there's something we can do. That, you know, maybe people don't want to go out to the wastewater treatment plant and load up, but at the end of the day, those trucks are not, they don't need to be sanitized. If there's issues about cleaning them up, I think you can draw that into the price of what they're doing. What's 1,000 gallons of water cost today? It was 2009, I think it was $2 for 1,000 gallons of water. I don't think that it's that anymore. Family of 4 on average each person uses 400 gallons per day. Okay, so put that into the context of what they're doing. I'm not against the development, and I'm not against the development. I want to see a change in how we're issuing or letting people use our water, because it goes against our percentage that we're mandated to cut. And then we have there's people that literally let their laws die because they want to do what's right. I think we need to do what's right as a city council and address it. I really do. And like I said, this isn't against any one developer, any one project. I just think we need to address that issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Do you have an answer for that, Steve, or?
Council, you'd be pleased, I hope Mr. Staff will be pleased to know that the city currently prohibits the use of city hydrants for construction water, and has, since we, back in May, declared stage 3. We still issue hydrant permits, but the permits require that they do drive out to the wastewater treatment plant and use non-potable water. And there's a certain development that was doing a lot of dirt for the last couple of weeks up on East Stockton Boulevard, south of Walnut, and they were running 4 water trucks continuously for 2 weeks, and they were all doing round trips out to the wastewater treatment plant. And we did all of them to make sure that they were spot check that. So if any citizen sees a water truck other than a city street sweeper or a city of Galt loaded vehicle filling up from a hydrant, please call Public Works Department or the Police Department and report that, because we want to catch them in the act.
Good. Great. Good. And I can vouch for that, because I almost got ran off the road when I was out looking
I want to thank you for clarifying that, because I think that's important, because we don't know that. When I made a call, they couldn't answer. So I really appreciate knowing that, and I think you should get that word out, and that we're doing everything that we can, and that non-potable water is being used. And that will delay a lot of issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, moving on to the information consent calendar. The motion to approve.
So moved.
Go ahead. Second.
We'll start off. Motion by Vice Mayor Payne, second by Councilmember Powers. Call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Payne? Aye. Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Powers? Aye. Mayor Cruz?
Aye. Vote is unanimous. Okay. Wow, that ended quickly, didn't it? Moving on to...
Yeah, really, after...
Moving on to City Council Office, discretionary funds for the Military Banner Project. As you all know, back in 2010, I started a project for our young men and women overseas to honor them. And I'd just like to transfer $900 of my discretionary funds for that purpose.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Campion, second by Vice Mayor Payne. Call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Payne? Aye. Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Powers? Aye. Mayor Cruz?
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. City Manager's Office. Host fee agreement with California Waste Recovery Systems regarding material recovery and recycling facility and transfer stations. Mr. Rudolph.
Good evening again, Mayor and council members. On August 20th, the Planning Commission approved a conditional use permit for Cal Waste to increase the recycling capacity at its existing facility from 150 tons per day to 480 tons per day. And at the same time, the Planning Commission authorized Cal Waste to operate a 150-ton transfer station from this same site. One of the conditions that was imposed by the Planning Commission was for Cal Waste to enter into a host fee agreement with the city. This type of agreement has become fairly common among jurisdictions to assess these host fees on solid waste facilities within its borders, and the fees generated by these agreements are typically used to mitigate the costs of road repair, illegal dumping, and litter control associated with these types of facilities. I'm happy to report that the city and Cal Waste have been successful in negotiating a host fee agreement, and that agreement is presented for City Council consideration this evening. In summary, what this agreement provides is that Cal Waste will pay a host fee at the rate of $1 per ton for the first 12 months of operations under the new conditional use permit. And then the cost will go up to $2 per ton in the second 12 months. And after the second year, the fee will be adjusted by 80% of a CPI rate on the anniversary date of the conditional use permit. The host fee for the transfer station will be calculated by multiplying the amount of the host fee rate by the tons received at the transfer station minus those tons that originate in the city of Galt. For the recycling facility, the amount of the fee will be calculated by multiplying the rate by the amount of tons in excess of 165 tons per day. And this base number represents the amount of tonnage that is currently being moved through the facility based upon existing contracts that Cal Waste has in place, which includes a fairly recent contract with the city of Folsom. After that contract runs its term, then the base rate will be reduced to 150 tons per day. As it relates to the amount of money generated by this contract, once the transfer station is operating at its full permitted capacity of 150 tons per day, the total non-city tons would be approximately 108 tons per day, and at the $2 per ton rate, this would generate about $56,000 in revenue for the city annually. The full capacity may not be reached for several years, so that's projected out for some time. As it relates to the recycling facility, it's not anticipated that in the short term that facility is going to generate any revenue because it's currently operating at the 165-ton level. Once it actually gets to the full capacity, about 480 tons per day, 330 of those tons would be subject to the host fee, and at the $2 per ton rate, that will generate $171,000 annually. So with that, the action item for the council tonight is to adopt a resolution approving the host fee agreement with Cal Waste regarding the recycling facility and the transfer station, and authorizing the manager to execute the agreement. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from council?
I do.
Okay.
These are tonnages that are brought into the city of Galt, not generated within the city of Galt, correct?
That's correct. As it relates to the transfer station, the amount that Cal Waste would be required to pay is a net amount after deducting the Galt amount, right. And also on the recycling facility, the amount that is generated within the city is captured within that
165.
The 165 or 150.
150, yes.
Right.
Okay. Just wanted to make it clear that the residents weren't getting a rate increase.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing to bring up.
Any more questions?
No.
Okay, do I have no public comment on this? Call for a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a move by Councilmember Powers and a second by Councilmember Campion. Any further discussion? Then call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Powers?
Aye.
Mayor Cruz?
Aye. Motion
I think this
passes
will be a
unanimously.
tremendous benefit to the city and the residents. I think it will.
Outstanding. That being our last bit of business, do we have communication? Oh, I'm sorry. We're moving to the successor agency.
Inez got her feelings hurt.
I'm sorry.
Only on the consent.
I totally forgot about them, other than what we're doing with up in Capitol Hill. Roll call, please.
Board Member Payne?
Aye. I'm here. I know it.
Board Member Hewer? Board Member Campion?
Here.
Board Member Powers?
Here.
Board Member Cruz?
Present. Okay, minutes of the meeting of February 26th. We have,
That's all consent.
yeah, all consent. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve consent?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Campion, second by Vice Mayor Payne. Call for the vote, please. We're losing it here.
Board Member Payne? Aye. Board Member Campion?
Aye.
Board Member Powers?
Aye.
Board Member Cruz?
Aye. Passes unanimously. You're good. All right, moving on. We adjourn from the successor agency and back to City Council. City Clerk's report.
Just a few calendar items. City offices will be closed for Labor Day on Monday, September 7th. The regular Youth Commission meeting has been canceled for September 7th. The Parks and Rec Commission meeting is still meeting on September 9th. And the Planning Commission meeting for September 10th has been canceled. And brings us to September 14th, where the Youth Commission will be having a special meeting, and then back to the City Council meeting on September 15th.
Okay. Comments by staff. We'll start down here by Inez. Anything? Tony?
Just real quick, following up on our city annexation, we're going to go ahead and have our open house at the Police Department Community Room on December 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. So we'll be sending a notice out to all of the affected property owners and registered voters. That's all I have.
Very good.
What time is that? 6 to 8.
There's not that many.
What was the date again? I'm sorry.
24. Steve?
Mayor, just a quick comment. We had a nice article in the Lowland News Sentinel on water conservation today. And, since then, Mark's staff hustled up the August numbers, and I'm pleased to report that for the second month in a row, we hit 38% overall city water conservation, which is 6% above our mandate of 32. And the state's now on a new reporting system where you can carry forward. Our compliance is measured cumulatively since June of this year. And in the last 3 months, we've exceeded in all 3 months the required conservation. And right now, we've banked up approximately 48 million gallons to the good, above and beyond that which we're required to do. Should we have a problematic month, that puts a little bit in the bank to keep us from being out of compliance. But at the rate we're going, we're confident that the city residents will keep up the good work. For the month of August, that was a 16-year low. Lowest August water usage in 16 years. Wow. As the city is growing. So keep up the good work.
Awesome. Paula? Nothing. Armando, you've been quiet over there.
Yeah, he likes it that way, huh?
Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to report to council quickly that had the opportunity to meet with the new high school superintendent, Dr. Elizabeth Kaufman, today, discussing issues of mutual interest and concern to us, and looks like it's going to be a strong working relationship there. So that is it.
Awesome. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just want to report I'm 1 week into my new job, and the lights are still on, so everybody's playing well with one another. Looking ahead, the next agenda is a little bit on the light side as well, but I think once we hit October, We got some significant issues that are going to be coming back before us, so more work ahead.
Awesome. You're going to do an introduction here to the young lady to your left?
I'm very pleased to have Iris Yang here tonight. She's one of the two folks that are going to be assisting as a city attorney role during our transitional period. And so, welcome, Iris.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good to be here.
Your chance. Do you have anything to say?
I really don't have anything to say.
Okay. Thank you.
You don't want to hear your attorney's talk.
Moving on, we'll start down with City Council. Mr. Campion.
Any update on the kitchen?
Littleton Stoves Kitchen? Yes, actually we do. We've got a meeting on site tomorrow to help move the reinvigorated process forward, and we met this past week with Armando to look at the current bookings, and we've identified about a 2.5-week window in November to get all of the work done, and we're in the process of finding a contractor who can commit to getting that done within our budget, hopefully.
Good. Glad to hear that.
So you're saying it'll be done in 2.5 weeks?
Once we've got a 2.5-week window for them to do all the work that's necessary.
So theoretically, it'll be done before December?
That's the point.
All right. In theory.
In there.
That's it.
Ms. Powers?
I had a really good time at the Heritage Festival, and I think we ought to commend Parks and Rec for their work there, Public Works for getting the what do you call it? Playground area. A lot of, I live there. I drive by all the time, and a lot of kids are on it all the time. So I think it was a good choice on everybody's part to put it there. And I want to commend you, Barbara, and your crew for a very nice day. It was very enjoyable. Had a good time.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Awesome. Good. And with that, Vice Chair Payne?
Well, I would share with you, we had Supervisor Donatoli come and issued a proclamation recognizing the inaugural celebration of the Galt Heritage Festival, which is very nice. There are so many people to thank that I'm not going to try to mention everybody's name because I'm sure that I would forget some. But a couple stand out more than the others. Also, let me thank Armando, Parks and Recs and Public Works. But we had some volunteers from the Real Life Church, and they worked diligently for several days putting all that equipment together, and it wasn't easy. I was by there, and you could see the sweat pouring off of them as they were pushing wheelbarrows of concrete and trying to figure out everything. And we will be sending out a lot of thank yous, but I just could not go through tonight without mentioning what a great job they did and how they stuck with it. And I think that our Public Works Director would agree that the city should be very thankful for their efforts and everything. That's it.
Okay, awesome. I'd just like to reiterate what you both said. The Harvest Festival, Heritage Festival, thinking of a different thing. The Heritage Festival was a great success, and since this is in the first annual, I'm looking forward to next year. A lot of fun, and I think everybody there enjoyed themselves, and it was a very nice, cool day. That was the best part. With that, I will adjourn the meeting.
All righty then.